Stay on.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of The Cut. I am your host, Christian Williams, and I am here, as always, with Randy Hall. Randy, how are you, man?
Doing good. Sorry, my StreamYard screen's still on the intro logo. So I was like, what?
Nice.
Okay.
Very cool.
Not the best sign in the world.
Should have no connection issues.
Yeah, let's hope not. Doing good. Had a weird long day, but we're ready for this. Took a long time to come up with the second segment here, and it's a good one.
It did, and shout out to Connor Rogers and Trevor Sycamo over at NFL Stock Exchange for kind of coming up with this cool idea where they introduced an expansion team to the NFL, and they went through today and protected players on their podcast, NFL Stock Exchange. Go check that out. If you don't already listen to it, I mean, you should. It's a fantastic, fantastic podcast. But we are going to kind of branch off of that and kind of draft the starting roster for this expansion team. And we're going to kind of create our own team too. I know they kind of talked about that at the beginning of the episode, but we're going to do it, and we're going to see what kind of team pops out. So, but first we're going to talk through the AFC South. The one thing I did want to mention in terms of news is the report that Deshaun Watson will be suing the NFL if he gets a year suspension as aided by the NFLPA. Randy kind of highlighted that would probably be the case. We kind of have agreed on that. We kind of have differing views about what that means. I kind of think this might happen, maybe expect this. And Randy, what are your thoughts on that?
I just think it's kind of hedging the bet because the year is what the NFL has been trying to push out to try and get feedback on the whole time. So they're just setting up for the pushback in case they do go for the throat and go for the full year. They're ready to go against them with precedent and try and knock it down. I still think the year's just not happening anymore. Not that it shouldn't, but just where it's at.
Yeah, I think it's an important thing to note that when we talk about this stuff, should and will are very different things. We've kind of expressed our views on some of it, I think, so I don't think we need to reiterate it every week. But yes, so yeah, I mean, we're going to know soon. Training camps start next week. The Browns don't start until, that's next week, the 26th. So yeah, we're going to know something within the next 8 to 9 days, I think so. And that's a good note too. League news, training camps start next week. And so I think next week's show, we're going to dive into some position battles. We tossed that idea around for this week, but I think that will be kind of highlighting some of the big battles and camp reports from mini camps and just try to get everyone up to speed as we head into some of the training camp reports. We already got the one today about Leonard Fournette being 260. And so we'll get to talk about that, I'm sure, because I think there's a little bit of a battle going on down there, even though Randy and I probably disagree on that a little bit. But
if he's 260, I don't disagree.
Yeah, that's a big boy there. But okay, let's get into the AFC South, and we are going to start with the Indianapolis Colts. If you haven't listened to any of these episodes, we just go fantasy positions, kind of talk through some burning questions like we have been for the last few weeks. So running backs for the Colts, Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines, Phillip Lindsay, Deion Jackson, CJ Verdell, Devontae Price, and Tyson Williams. Wide receivers, Michael Pittman Jr., Alec Pierce, Paris Campbell, Mike Strawn, Desmond Patman, Ashton Doolin, DeMichael Harris, Samson Nakua. Fun fact, his brother still plays for BYU. Kiki Kuti, Kakoa Crawford, Ethan Fernia, and Michael Young Jr., and then tight ends Mo Alley Cox, Kylan Granson, rookie Jelani Woods, Andrew Ogletree, Michael Jacobson, Nikola Kalinic. Jesus, that was a flurry of tough
Yeah, I was gonna
names.
say
I
you did
struggled
so
through that.
well to the last one.
Yeah, that was pretty tough.
Especially with Mike Strachan. Like, that's a hard
Yeah.
one because it does not read that way.
Yeah, it's rough. Okay, the first question I think a lot of people want to know. There have been a few different reports that Nyheim Hines will receive a larger role with Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan likes to throw to his running backs, and even Frank Reich said you should draft Nyheim Hines in fantasy. We don't have too many good examples of coaches giving good fantasy advice, but do you think that Nyheim Hines kind of assumes the role that he once had, or do you think Jonathan Taylor will be kind of fully unleashed as a pass catcher this year?
I think we've seen Jonathan Taylor kind of fully unleashed as a pass catcher because while he has improved since his college days, he's just not a natural pass catcher. I don't think he can grow to some exceeding extent. I do have him getting literally 4 more targets and 2 more catches. So I think he's at his peak, just like Josh Jacobs has been over the last 2 years, just at his peak about 40, 45. But I have Hines at 67 targets, 53 catches. So a decently solid increase in workload out of that. But if any, like, it's not a detriment to Taylor. It's more of a compliment that they're going to increase his workload to keep Jonathan Taylor as healthy and fresh as possible, because this is a team that, while they kind of thought they were a playoff team last year, I think they fully think they are this year. So, or at least division contenders for that aspect. So they're going to keep Jonathan Taylor healthy because they saw what happened to the Titans last year when their train fell off and they were forced to do everything else with the quarterback. They don't want to have to do that with this receiving core, I don't think. So they're going to keep Taylor healthy and fresh, and Hines through the passing game is going to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I think Naeem Hines is going to have quite a large role. And to your point, yeah, I mean, Jonathan Taylor, I think I pulled a stat. His reception total for an RB1 was one of the lowest in the last 10 or so years, 8 to 10 years. I don't remember what the stat is. I pulled it a couple of weeks ago now. But yeah, I mean, I think that you're really banking on Jonathan Taylor being super, super good on the ground, because I don't think that there's much more upside as a pass catcher. So I do think Hines is a really nice draft pick in fantasy drafts right now, because people haven't really caught up to all of that news yet. I think, there will be a lot of people that start doing redrafts that they recognize Nyheim Hines as the guy that he finishes a top 20 running back a couple of years thus far. So yeah, we'll see what his ADP looks like, but he's a good pick right now. I want to skip to wide receivers. I think so. I wrote a piece for Football Guys on Michael Pittman, and I actually went back and redid some of my projections because of the information that I found. And pretty much, Matt Ryan is going to freaking feed the wide receiver one. We kind of know that. Michael Pittman should finish as a wide receiver one. Do you agree or disagree, Randy?
Unfortunately, I disagree by one spot, though.
Okay.
I have him at wide receiver 13. I have him basically having the same year, but slightly more efficient. I think that's fair. 2 less targets, 2 more catches, 80 more yards, another touchdown. Like, he got an enormous kind of lion share last year. I don't think he's going to get much more, like, higher to the ceiling, except maybe touchdown wise, and maybe I don't even think he can really get more efficient of a pass catcher. He's like 69%. I have him at 70. Like, I think that's kind of a peak. And when you get an influx of a top potential talent in Alec Pierce and hopefully a healthy Paris Campbell, in theory, the target shouldn't overly expand for that guy at the top. But I do think Pittman becomes a little bit more efficient with a more efficient quarterback and has every shot to be wide receiver one this year. It's just
Close.
I just don't think he literally probably needs like one more touchdown, I'm sure, to catch it.
Yeah. ultimately, if you look at things in tiers, he's gonna if he finishes wide receiver 13, he gave you a lot of wide receiver 1 week. So
Yes.
I think that that's a good outlook for him. What tight end do you have interest in this room?
Oh boy, that is Jelani Woods for Dynasty and none for this year.
Same.
I have Mo Alley Cox having the lion's share of targets again this year. With Granson definitely starting to come into his own, and then Jelani Woods, I think having a pretty decent end of the year, finishing with the second highest targets of the tight end room and second highest catches and 2 touchdowns. It's just I know Matt Ryan has had efficient tight ends in the past. I just don't think anyone's really ready that I can see to be, the next Austin Hooper for Matt Ryan. I don't think Molly Cox will ever do that, but I just think he's going to be on the field to start, and he probably won't ever leave the field just because they use 2 tight ends a lot. And he's big as hell, so
Yeah.
just once Woods gets on the field, I think he can kind of capitalize a bit more, and he's a little bit more of a move piece than the other two as well. So
Yeah, I think Granson has the ability to take on a Hooper-like role. I just don't. I think they drafted Woods with pretty high capital, and I do expect him to kind of There's a chance. I mean, Mo Cox has gotten injured quite a bit. He's kind of like
yeah,
a little deer out there with his long legs. So, yeah, I think ultimately, like, we could see one of them emerge because of injury. But I agree. I don't have interest in any of them this year. So. All right. Any parting notes on the Colts? Cool. Jacksonville Jaguars are up next. The running back room: Travis Etienne, James Robinson, Snoop Connor, Redquell Armstead, Nathan Cottrell, and Mekhi Sargent. Wide receivers: Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones, Zay Jones, Laviska Shenault, Laquan Treadwell, Jamal Agnew, Marvin Hall, Tim Jones, Jeff Cotton Jr., Kevin Austin Jr., Lawan Winningham, Willie Johnson, Ryan McDaniel. Tight ends: Evan Engram, Dan Arnold, Chris Manhertz, Luke Farrell, Nas Bohannon, Garrett Prince, and Grayson Gunter. A lot of hype over Travis Etienne this year. I think that's on the back of James Robinson maybe not being healthy to start the year, coming off the Achilles injury. What is your outlook for Travis Etienne this year? Are you buying the hype?
I have him as an RB2. Does that buy the hype?
I guess so. Yeah.
I think I have him in like RB20. Mainly because as of right now, I have Robinson at 13 games, which I think is very, very doable. Uh, I don't think he's fully healthy to start the year, but after a month, I think he has a chance to get back on the field, um, and start practicing to start the year, kind of thing. So we'll see that timeline once we get through. Once we start these training camps, we'll see a little bit more reports and see the timeline. If those games continue to dwindle, his stats go up, and he continues to rise up the ranks. But I think I have him about RB20 right now with 180 carries, 755, 55 catches, like a very good dual threat workload. I just don't really trust the offense that much. So, 212 PPR points, that's very, very good, especially with a as good or better runner next to him when healthy. James
Yeah.
Robinson, I think, would have dominated a lot of games and pissed people off last year. So that's why. And he's actually relatively efficient in the passing game as well. So I think if he can come back after a month, Etienne's ceiling's definitely taken away, but the floor stays.
Yeah. Yeah. So for what it's worth, he is being drafted as running back 20. So you're not really buying the hype, but you're also not selling the hype. You would just draft
Yeah.
him where he's going. I have him a little lower, actually, because I think you're right. I think James Robinson eats into it. And I actually have him eating into the receiving workload a little bit. And I think that is where Etienne's going to have to thrive if he wants to be inside the top 20, I guess. So
How much work do you have him getting the receiving game?
Etienne or James Robinson?
Robinson. I have a good idea what you got for Etienne.
Yeah, so I just gave him 20. I gave him 11 games and I gave him 22 catches, 32
Oh,
targets, but really, like,
I gave him 22 catches in 13 games, so that's hilarious.
Yeah. So that's kind of my point. Like I do see him eating in just a little bit more than you would in just a limited amount of time. But I do have ETN getting 41 receptions, about 350 yards, and a few touchdowns through the air. I do think there's something to be said about Trevor Lawrence and that connection. Jeff always likes to joke that ETN was his favorite receiver at Clemson, and this offense is actually really friendly to running back targets. So. So there,
I feel like
I
T. Higgins and Justin Ross are his favorite receivers, but I get
probably
it. They were
probably
also
the
banged up at times. But I also have James Robinson is just a more efficient runner that we've seen right now than Travis Etienne. So if he's going to get only 40 less carries than Etienne, he's going to be really close in the yards. I have him just like 110 yards less on the ground and the same touchdowns because he's the bigger back as well. So it's hard.
Yeah, and he's a better runner in my opinion as well. So,
Yeah.
okay. So the tight end room looks a little different right now, and now we should point out too that Doug Peterson is new here, and Doug Peterson runs an offense that very much so uses running backs and tight ends as dump offs and safety nets for his quarterback. And Doug Peterson offenses have always traditionally produced good tight ends. You think back to the Eagles with Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. They signed Evan Engram, but they also had Dan Arnold, who was really, really effective in his time, even last year with the Urban Meyer-led team. The question we have here is, can Evan Engram do enough with Dan Arnold there to be a fantasy relevant tight end that you play on a weekly basis?
The weekly basis is where I'm gonna have to say no. First of all, Evan Ingram really hasn't been healthy for a full season in a while. I do have him projected for 17 out of just kind of the exercise that this is. But I mean, I have him getting 80 targets compared to Dan Arnold's 43, 20 more catches than Arnold, almost 200 more yards than Arnold, but just one more touchdown. It's just, again, this isn't a prolific offense. So two tight ends definitely can't thrive. And if two tight ends are working at the same time, one won't thrive, basically. So, and Evan Ingram really needs 100 targets to really be a chance to be a tight end one. Like, I think he's tight end 24 for me with these stats because he
Wow.
it's.
Okay. Yeah. I'm a
But I
little
mean,
higher on
it depends. Like, I mean, 43 targets, 30 catches, 2 touchdowns. Dan Arnold, I think that's very reasonable from what we've seen from him, especially in the last couple years. In kind of the chemistry we saw with Trevor Lawrence at times last year as well. So, and Ingram he's just not an efficient player. So he has to get extra targets to really do enough for me. And I think if you give him a few more touchdowns, obviously he shoots up the board, but again, it's the offense. I would rather give the 2 running backs and Kirk touchdowns than Evan Ingram.
Yeah, I am intrigued to see what they do in like 3 wide receiver sets. Evan Ingram is probably best lined up out wide or in the slot, and Christian Kirk is best lined up in the slot. He can be a Z, but I think,
Same thing.
yeah, I also think the Zay Jones signing means that the 3 wide receiver sets are going to be Marvin Jones, Zay Jones, and Christian Kirk, because they gave Zay Jones a decent bit of money as well. So, and he was good last year for the Raiders. So, I'm intrigued to see what kind of personnel groupings they throw out there. I do think they're more multiple than they were last year at this point. So,
Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
yeah. So I also think that impacts like what Ingram gets. But yeah, I'm kind of along the same lines. I think he's going to have some blow up weeks though. So.
Well, and I think like you said, the running back's getting a hefty workload, as well as Laviska taking away workload. It's not like I am only getting 40 catches. Like, it's nothing fantasy relevant per se, but it's going to take enough that Evan Ingram is taken away. Same with running backs. They don't shoot up because this guy that only can really be efficient, touching the ball quick, is going to do that at times.
Laviska Shenault had the quietest 100 target year last year that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Because he caught 63% of them, barely.
And he
had 0 touchdowns.
Yeah, he wasn't good. he's not that good in my opinion, but whatever. He's actually had more receiving yards and receptions than Jerry Jeudy in his career. Okay. Yeah, Houston Texans.
He's played more games. That's not fair.
Only like 3 more games, I think, but you're right. It's something like that. Houston Texans are next. Running back room: Marlon Mack, Damian Pierce, Rex Burkhead, Royce Freeman, Daria Gumbawale, Darius Anderson. Wide receivers: Brandon Cooks, Nico Collins, John Mechie, Chris Conley, Philip Dorsett, Chris Moore, Chad Beebe, Jalen Camp, Connor Weddington, Drew Estrada, Johnny Johnson III, Davion Davis, and then tight ends: Brevin Jordan, Pharaoh Brown, Tegan Kitarana. Nope. Anthony Auclair, Mason Schreck, and Seth Green. So, for I guess first question, do you think Brevin Jordan breaks out this year with Davis Mills?
Scrolling. I think he has a better year, but breakout, no.
That's fair.
Yeah. I have him just south of 60 targets, 40 catches, 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. A very respectable and a very good leap for him. He only played 9 games last year. So while we loved him coming out of the draft and we thought the landing spot, if Mills or they performed at quarterback, he could be the tight end of the future. And we still think that. He still only played 9 games, only had 20 catches. I literally just have him basically doubling his stats, almost 2.5 times in his yards, but he got 3 touchdowns last year. I don't see that same efficiency coming for him. I gave him 4. So I think future-wise, he can continue to grow. And in dynasty formats, he's one of my favorite later targets because he could easily grow into a very vital back-end one piece at the tight end position with really only – we haven't seen enough from Nico Collins for me to be excited. Mechie, still rookie. So, and Brandon Cooks did sign the extension, but he's definitely not the future of the team like Jordan is. So we'll see how that shakes out in the future, but not this year.
Yeah. I was going to ask next question, Mechie or Collins, who do you think finishes as the wide receiver 2 in terms of fantasy points?
Oh, let me look at fantasy points then. It is technically Nico. Technically. Okay. For me, I have Nico getting 10 more targets, 3 more catches, about 80 more yards, and the same amount of touchdowns.
Yeah, so I do too, but I also have Mechie missing some time because I know there are a lot of reports that he'll be ready week 1. I think they're going to play it safe because why would you rush your rookie out there? So
that is baked into mine too. I do have him for 17 games, but I think he has a chance to not be on the injured list,
right.
week 1.
On like the pup or anything like that.
Well, even really like not playing list. Like I think he has a really good chance to play, but he's going to be very slow at the gates. For the whole month I'm predicting. So that's why a few targets here and there. So that really dinks down his efficiency and really him taking over as the 2 and giving Nico Collins the opportunity to with a more confident Davis Mills and a more competent line, barely, a more competent rushing attack as well, definitely. So I think Nico has the talent to at least carve out a safe role for himself as an outside guy.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I do think Mechie comes on strong down the stretch, which will be fun to watch. I like Mechie. I think he's the top 50 drafted prospect that everyone is just ignoring because Jameson Williams is the Alabama receiver, right? Well, I do think Mechie is pretty good. We both felt pretty good about him. We think he's a wide receiver 2, and that's exactly the role he's getting. At best, he might even be a wide receiver 3.
Yeah, I kind of view it as like, we're just gonna move on that. I was gonna say something that was definitely wrong. I literally my mind was like, "What? You're stupid." So we're just gonna move on.
All right, sounds good. Parting question with the Texans: do you have any interest in the backfield for fantasy?
Kind of.
Okay.
So because they're going so late, I do mainly Marlon Mack. While I do have Damian Pierce outscoring him by the end of the season, just because of a little bit of passing work, he's a better pass catcher and actually getting a touchdown probably just slings him over. He's only 8 points higher, but Max going to start off the year and take a bunch of carries, and people are going to drop Damian Pierce, and Max going to start to get banged up, or he's going to start to slow down, or just Pierce is going to get involved more, and he's going to start to take over. Now, I don't think either are necessarily fantasy relevant, but they are playable flex guys at different parts of the year. I think is their best way to do it. The real problem for them is I don't see this team not liking using Rex Burkhead still. And that's what's going to kill him because I have Burkhead getting 80 carries, 305, and 2 scores, as well as 38 targets and 2 scores through the air. He's going to just that. If you cut out that row and give to one of those backs, they're fantasy relevant for the whole year.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good shout. I actually gave Burkhead more carries, which is funny because I think I was the one that was making jokes about them not using Burkhead because they have these other guys, and I gave them almost 100 carries. The split I have for the three of them on just rushing market share overall, 28% to Marlon Mack, 33% to Damian Pierce, because I do think he takes over, and then 22% to Rex Burkhead. And I also gave 10% to Royce Freeman because that's just kind of what I think this team is going to do. I think they're going to use a stable of backs. Now, if Royce Freeman gets cut, maybe there isn't a fourth back. Maybe that, that 10% gets dispersed throughout, but I still think it's a pretty even split. So, but Marlon Mack's going to running back 55, and he could be the starter week 1. So that's good value.
He will be the starter week 1. Pierce didn't take over the Florida backfield, really. He was the best back, but he didn't fully take over. So I don't see him stepping in and fully taking over this team, where I know a lot of fantasy people just left Mack for dead, but as someone that kind of held him on the injured list all last year, we're 2 years after the Achilles, where he's pretty much the only guy at this kind of position that we get to see that, where he basically sat out and now he's really healthy. I know he played in spurts with the Colts last year, but I don't think he was fully ready. And then they were trying to trade him, and no one was trading for the guy because they weren't playing him. It was tough. So I think he can come out really strong here and really put a lot of doubters, back to bed. He was never the best back, but he was definitely efficient. And he was a fantasy relevant person. So I think we can keep that going. It's just it's not as good of an offensive line is the problem.
Yeah, he was an RB2 2 straight years heading into that injury, and people drafted him. He was supposed to be even higher that year where he went down. So
touchdowns did help that, but
for sure,
still,
for sure, yeah. All right, let's move over to the Tennessee Titans to round out the AFC South depth charts. Quarterbacks, I guess we should mention Ryan Tannehill, Malik Willis. I think Malik Willis is probably going to be the QB3 to start the year and maybe not even dress some weeks. I think they will dress him because I think they might use him in special packages because he is such a rushing threat. But I don't even think he's the backup. Logan Woodside, I think, is their guy. So that's why we don't even have quarterbacks on here. But running backs, Derrick Henry, Dontrell Hilliard, Hassan Haskins, Trenton Cannon, Jordan Wilkins, Julius Chestnut. Wide receivers, Robert Woods, Traylon Burks, Nick Westbrook, Akine, Kyle Phillips, Des Fitzpatrick, Racey McMath, Cody Hollister, Josh Malone, Reggie Roberson Jr., Jawan Green, Mason Kinsey, Brandon Lewis. Tight ends, Austin Hooper is the new addition. Jeff Swaim. Chigo Okonkwo is also a new addition as a rookie. Tommy Hudson, Briley Moore, Thomas Odukoya. I think. I don't know. I said that confidently, like that was his name for sure. No way. Okay, so the drafting of Hassan Haskins, to me, indicated that they wanted a back in a similar light to Derrick Henry that's cheaper than keeping Deontay Foreman. But do you think that it indicates that they're going to actually cut down Derrick Henry's workload this year, or do you think that he's still pushing for overall RB1 like he was at times?
I mean, they're going to cut down on the workload, kind of, because in 8 games he had 219 carries.
It was stupid, man.
So do I think he's getting 460 carries? No. I do, however, have him getting 383. So it's not like this egregious cut down. I have Hassan Haskins and Dontrell Hilliard getting 45 and 47 carries respectively. It's not necessarily, I think they combine those two to make a decent rotational back to help out, and that's about it. Um, I think in the future, Haskins can be that guy as they start to taper off Henry, but they're going to run him and they're going to keep running him this year for sure because their weapons on offense past him aren't to the level they had last year, even right now. So Henry's going to be the flag bearer. He's going to be carrying this team. I have him 383, 1885, 12 touchdowns, 27 catches, 207 to score for RB4.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Okay. Yeah, I'm more of the mindset that I think they start to cut him down because
That
I
is
think
a cut down. That's the problem. That's
I
the
know.
scary thing.
I'm more on the lines of like you split the 40 carries or whatever. I'm giving about 150 carries to those secondary and tertiary backs, which I know that's a lot, but I think when you see your star running back go down like that, when he was on pace for 2,000 yards, he was going to run for 2,000 yards last year, which is just absurd. He was having an absurd year. Yeah, it would have been absolutely nuts. And I think that they want him on the field still. I just think that they're going to just be smart with it because they know that he is the key to their success. So they want to keep him fresh, keep him healthy. But I could see a world in which you're right. That is the cut down. It's not really a cut down in terms of other running backs in the league. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. That's one of my main questions going into this year, I think.
So I have I'd say it's about 120 carries going to non-Derrick Henry. I'm not counting Tannehill rushes because there's like 60 there too. So in total, though, that's Robert Woods, Traylon Burks, Julius Chestnut, Dontrell Hilliard, Hassan Haskins. I just don't see them. Again, I agree. I think they taper down slightly, but to completely to give up another 50 touches, I mean, you're losing games then. Like,
yeah,
just plain and simple. Because he's, especially early on, like he's going to have this pace that he had last year for most of the, like maybe not that drastic, but it's going to be close.
Yeah.
Because Robert Woods might not be fully ready to go. Traylon Burks, as of now, isn't fully ready to go. And your receiving core after that could just go. So Derrick Henry is going to be the guy.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's a fair argument for sure. Who do you think finishes higher in fantasy this year, Robert Woods or Traylon Burks?
Boy, it's definitely Robert Woods. But I'll double check. Yeah, Robert Woods by about 16 points.
Okay.
See, have him about 16 more targets, 14 more catches, 4 less yards is the thing, but 1 more touchdown. And I have Burks getting a rushing touchdown just for the fuck of it.
I do
he's
too.
A hell of an athlete.
I also have Robert Woods getting one, so it kind of.
I have him falling just short. No.
Like he always did.
It's just Burks is more of the deep shot, so, and he's the guy that's gonna be able to break tackles and break away. So I have him literally like 6 yards outpacing him on 14 less catches.
Yeah.
Because that's the player he is. It's just plain simple.
Yeah, that's fair. Wide receiver 3, do you have any interest in the wide receiver 3 here? Do you think the wide receiver 3 is actually Austin Hooper? I guess would be a better question.
Yes. Austin Hooper is a wide receiver 3. I have him getting more catches than almost anyone else getting targets. I have Westbrook Akeem getting 56 targets, and I have Hooper getting 55 catches.
Okay.
I do have Kyle Phillips at 52 targets. I think he is the third best receiver from what I've seen, but Westbrook Akeen's been there. He's ingrained to the offense kind of right now by necessity over the last year. So while Phillips has been doing really good this offseason so far, I'm not sure he takes over for a little while on the third role, obviously.
Yeah, I would be interested to see what that wide receiver outlook looks like if Woods doesn't start the year fully healthy. I think he has a shot still. I think there's reason to believe that he could start the year on the pup though, but I think they're sacrificing wins if they start him on the pup, so they might just sit him for a week or two. But
Yeah. I mean, you're not playing him until he's 100%. So, but I think he's closer than a lot of people think. Just like I think Traylon Burks is closer to being ready than we're being stated. He's had his early issues, but we've seen that before. I mean, shit. Jamar Chase apparently couldn't catch a football last year.
that is true. That is true. I do want to shout out Chigakonkwo. I think if there's a rookie tight end that no one, and I mean absolutely no one except the dynasty community is talking about, that could have some relevance this year, it would be Okonkwo. Hooper is usually reliable, but this is a team that plays a lot of 12 personnel. I think Swaim had a good year last year. I think he deserves a shout, but I also have seen a lot of really good reports about Okonkwo. This is a team full of rookies on offense, and they're sneaky exciting to watch, I think, this year with Woods and Burks having a little more a different flavor of wide receiver there too. So
we'll see. He's definitely an athlete. I just don't know if he can get ingrained. And early reports are Hooper's like the favorite of who's actually on the field. So we'll see how much that carries over once everyone's on the field.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, that'll do it for the AFC South depth charts. We will continue this. We've got a few more left, I think. Just one more. Are we done?
Just NFC South, I believe.
Okay, so next week we'll do NFC South. We'll probably talk about training camp battles to go along with that, and we'll probably intertwine those so that we don't double up on some of those discussions. Yeah. We are going to get into our expansion team draft. Randy, do you want to walk through kind of what exactly it was? I kind of explained it. And then are you going to read off every single person that was protected today?
Yeah, I'll do AFC, you do NFC. Just fuck it. So the stock exchange, NFL stock exchange, it's a fun idea. It's something I've thought about, never actually brought up, because I thought it'd be too hard. And I think it would have been.
It will be.
Because we're doing the second half. And even, it's just hard because there's going to be debates with this kind of stuff no matter what. But the premise, each team got to keep 4 players on offense and 4 players on defense to be exempt from possibly taking the expansion draft. We are going to be taking the 22 starters. So we can only draft one person from a team, and 10 teams are going to be lucky and lose no one, or too bad that we can't take anyone from them. It's going to be the obvious. Mostly quarterbacks are saved, and stuff like that. But this way, it's just a different way to do it. And it was very fun to hear them kind of argue about a few of the people. So definitely go give them a listen. They are also coming back with this same episode basically on their own. So go see how we compare against them. But yeah, it was just a fun thing. And we were both listening to it today, and we couldn't really figure out a second segment that we love. So I was like, let's just fucking do this. So starting off AFC East, Bills kept Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Deion Dawkins, and Dawson Knox on offense. And on defense, Trey White, Von Miller, Matt Milano, Kaiir Elam. You'll see a theme in this to where high-valued draft picks of rookies this year, especially like Kaiir Elam, where they kind of traded up to get, they're going to be kept because they're top-end rookies, and the team clearly views them as the future of the organization. They don't want them gone in this kind of situation. Dolphins next, offense, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Teron Armstead, and Tua Tagovailoa. This was definitely a debate on there. I think this is the correct call by far over Mike Gesicki. Getting a possible franchise quarterback over a tight end that you haven't even really paid yet is easy math.
Smart. Yeah, smart.
Defense, Jalen Phillips, Xavier Howard, Christian Wilkins, Javon Holland. Definitely a young core there. Jets, offense, Zach Wilson, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, and Elijah Vera Tucker, which was surprising for me, but with all the Becton concerns, it does make sense. I do think Becton is the better offensive lineman when he tries. Defense, Sauce Gardner, obviously. Quentin Williams, obviously. Jermaine Johnson, obviously. And Carl Lawson, obviously. This was one of the more easier defenses to pick from. The Rams are up there as well.
Yeah, true.
Patriots offense, Mac Jones, Mike Nkwenu, Cole Strange, Hunter Henry. Shit offense to pick from. They really should have picked 3 offensive linemen, but they picked Hunter Henry. Christian Barmore on defense, Matt Judon, Kyle Duggar, Josh Uche. 3 easy, and then the 4th one was a little iffy. I agree. Patriots in a weird state. Just putting that out there.
Sure are.
They didn't have to. They didn't save a corner, which is something you never think of from a Patriots team. AFC North, the Browns. They have them keeping Deshaun Watson. Obviously, they physically have to at this point. Joel Bitonio, Amari Cooper, and Jed Wills. No Nick Chubb. It was a lot of debate.
It was a lot of debate, but I wanted to introduce the idea that you could also keep 3 linemen here. You could keep Wills, Bitonio, and Teller, and that would have been a smart move. So,
100%.
But they didn't. That's fine. We'll take them.
Defense also relatively easy for this team. Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and Greg Newsome. You weren't picking anyone else. Let's be real. Bengals. First 3 are easy. Burrow, Chase Higgins. There was a good amount of debate between Joe Mixon and Jonah Williams. They went with the offensive lineman of the future and Jonah Williams here, which is fair because running backs aren't a high-value position. Defense, Jesse Bates, Trey Hendrickson, Daxton Hill, and DJ Reader. Yeah, makes sense. Ravens, Lamar, no shit. Mark Andrews, no shit. Tyler Linderbaum, a very highly picked offensive lineman. They've used the future at center. Best center in the class, easy, really good prospect, makes sense. Ronnie Stanley, when he's healthy, is the best, one of the top 5 best left tackles in football. Defense, Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Williams, Odafe Owe, and Kyle Hamilton.
Easy.
Yeah, easy. There's Marcus Peters discussion there, Patrick Queen a little bit. You could say Chuck Clark, but I think he's on the out at safety. I think you have to pick Hamilton there. It was smart picking the rookies here. Odafe Owe is just so much upside as well. Steelers, Deontay Johnson, Kenny Pickett, you had to. Chase Claypool, Najee Harris. I think Chase Claypool was more of a question mark here than they put up.
They just skated right by it, man. It was kind of weird.
I'd rather with what you have in that receiver core now after this draft, I think having Pat Freiermuth locked up more than Chase Claypool made more sense, but here we are. Najee Harris, one of the only running backs kept. Defense, decently easy. TJ Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick, Cam Hayward, and then Alex Highsmith, who, again, is Christian definitely toted in his draft class. It definitely put my eyes on. He's been showing out, and he was – really Miles Jack, Devin Bush, not just enough yet. Edmonds, Joe Hayden, too old. Highsmith was the pick for sure. AFC South, the Colts, Jonathan Taylor, Quentin Nelson, sorry, Matt Ryan, and Michael Pittman Jr. Yeah, that's the offense there. Yeah. Yep. Defense, Darius Leonard, DeForest Buckner, Julian Blackmon, and Kwity Paye. And yeah, it's pretty cut and dry there as well. Jaguars, a tougher team because, again, not great. Trevor Lawrence, Cam Robinson, Brandon Scherf, which I definitely misspelled, and Travis Etienne. Thank you. I was like, is it just the F? Or Christian Kirk, not there. I think that's fair. I just don't know if we haven't seen anything from Etienne, so have him be the kept. It's kind of tough.
It's interesting, for sure.
Defense, Trayvon Walker, definitely missed a Y there. Josh Allen, Devin Lloyd, and Fularonsu
Fatukasi, yeah.
I can never pronounce that right the first time, and it pisses me off. Just want that straightened out.
Good defensive tackle.
One of the better run-stopping D tackles in the league. So I should learn it. Brandon Cooks, Davis Mills, Kenyon Green, and Larry Tunsil for the Texans. Defense, Derek Stingley, Jalen Petrie, Jonathan Grenard, and Steven Nelson. And then finally for me, I forgot about the West. Okay, so the Titans, Treylon Burks, Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, Taylor Lewan on offense. On defense, Jeffrey Simmons, one of the biggest no-brainers in this draft. Harold Landry, Amarni Hooker. What the hell? Amani, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell did I put an R in there for? And then Kevin Byard. Solid picks, a little bit older besides Simmons, but it's the best players on their defense by far.
Yep.
AFC West Broncos, Russell Wilson, Cortland Sutton, Javonte Williams, Garrett Bowles. A lot of discussion between Jerry Jeudy and Garrett Bowles. I think when you already pick Sutton, if you picked one of the receivers, I get it. Getting the offensive lineman, that's pretty much your best offensive lineman is smart. Defense, again, one of the easiest teams. Pat Surtain, Randy Gregory, Justin Simmons, Bradley Chubb, cut and dry, easy. Chargers on offense.
Stupid.
Yeah, it's so good. It's such a good 4-person core. Chargers is going to be about the same. Actually harder. Definitely one of the best. Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Rashawn Slater, and Mike Williams. And on defense, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Derwin James, J.C. Jackson. Fuck.
The Chargers are winning the Super Bowl, bro. That's what I learned.
They're not, though. They can't even make the playoffs.
They will.
Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Joe Thuney, and Creed Humphrey. Yeah.
Easy.
Defense, Chris Jones, easy. Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis are the two young rookies from this year. That makes perfect sense. And then Justin Reed, that should be an I, is one of the better safeties in the league when he actually plays and wants to play for his team. So easily the best pick on defense there for them. Nick Bolton, they talked about a lot, possibly over Karlaftis. I think his level of play this last year definitely warranted him being a keep. However, he's closer to his ceiling, whereas Karlaftis is definitely closer to his floor right now. So
yeah,
makes sense. Sure. Raiders, Devontae Adams, Derek Carr, Darren Waller, Colton Miller, which perfectly I agree with over Hunter Renfrow. Miller's been way better than people give him credit for. Defense, Max Crosby, Trayvon Mulrig, Chandler Jones, and Nate Hobbs, who played out of his fucking mind last year, so props to him.
He did. All right, so the NFC East, Cowboys offense, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Zach Martin, Tyron Smith. I think those were pretty cut and dry as well. Defense, Michael Parsons, Trayvon Diggs, DeMarcus Lawrence were the easy three, and then there was some debate over Jaron Kearse or I don't even remember who because I don't think it
doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't
matter.
It was the right pick. Kearse is the right pick.
Yeah, for sure. Eagles offense, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, Jordan Mailata. I think that made sense. Defense, Darius Slay, Hassan Reddick, Jordan Davis, James Bradbury. There was some debate over Derek Barnett here. Derek Barnett's not very good, so I'm glad they made the right choice.
Well, then you have one, like obviously the future of the D-line and Jordan Davis. Then the rest is you followed the money and the talent level. It's the easiest. It's so easy. I thought I was confused why there was confusion.
I know. Giants offense, Evan Neal, Andrew Thomas, Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones. Defense, Kayvon Thibodeau, Azeez Ojulari, Xavier McKinney, and Dexter Lawrence. There was some debate over Azeez Ojulari. He had a pretty rough PFF grade last year, but I think he's just scratching the surface of what he can be. I think they made the right call here. They picked him in the second last year, too. You want to keep your high picks, remember. The Commanders, Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson, Jahan Dotson, and Carson Wentz. It shocked me.
I can't believe I still typed in the football team. I hate myself.
I get it. I cannot believe they didn't take Sam Cosmi over Jahan Dotson, but it is what it is. Cosmi played really well as a rookie last year, and I think that he could be your starting tackle of the future, and I think that I wouldn't mind scooping him in this expansion draft.
I would argue that they should have took Cosmi over Wentz, but
that's fair. On defense, Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat, Kendall Fuller. The Commanders' defense is pretty legit, guys. With Chase Young coming back, it's going to be pretty awesome. NFC North, Chicago Bears, Justin Fields, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet, Tevin Jenkins, I thought was a shocking one because Tevin Jenkins has consistently worked with the second team this offseason, so he might be more expendable in the Bears' eyes. We still liked him as a prospect. I hope he kind of grows into that role because he really, really fits the offense that they're going to run. Defense, Robert Quinn, Jaquan Brisker, or Kyler Gordon. Is that what they?
No, so there was a lot of confusion for them here.
Okay.
The three that were locked in that they kind of talked about was Robert Quinn, Roquan Smith, and Jalen Johnson, kind of obviously. But it sounded like they went with Jaquan Brisker. However, Kyler Gordon, he was a second round pick, and Kyler Gordon's the first round. So
Yeah.
while it sounded like they went with Brisker, I wasn't quite sure. I think we have to go with Brisker because of that situation. But I think Gordon made more sense. But
yeah, I mean, Gordon's better probably than Jalen Johnson if you're looking at ceiling plays, at least.
Ceiling play, yeah, but Jalen's played really well. It was just if I'm keeping the second round pick over my first round pick, I think you should have switched them. So
yeah, I agree.
But here we are.
Yeah, so we'll call it Brisker. Lions, Jameson Williams, Penei Sewell, Frank Ragnow, and TJ Hawkinson. Defense, Jeff Okuda, shout out him, Aiden Hutchinson, Amani Arawariye, and Aleem McNeil. They love Aleem McNeil. He played well as a rookie last year.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, he's a good player. Packers, Aaron Rodgers, Elton Jenkins, Aaron Jones, and David Bakhtiari. They only kept one of the running backs. Defense, Jair Alexander, Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, and Eric Stokes. That one was pretty easy, I think.
Yeah.
Vikings, Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins, Brian O'Neill, and Dalvin Cook. Defense, Danielle Hunter, Zadarius Smith, Lewis Seen, and Eric Kendricks. All makes sense. Brian O'Neill's a little bit of a shocking one.
He's played really well.
He has. I guess I would shout out Thielen here, but he's also old. So
I think that was between Darrisaw and him. That's potential and performance, and they went with performance in that one.
I get it. Okay, NFC South Bucks offense: Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Tristan Wirfs.
Yeah, shit.
Defense: Antoine Winfield, Vita Vea, Carlton Davis, Shaq Barrett. Yep. Falcons offense: Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Chris Lindstrom, Jake Matthews. Defense: AJ Terrell, Grady Jarrett, Arnold Ebiketie, and D'Angelo Malone with a shocking one, but he was one of Connor's favorites in the draft, so I get it. I understand. Plus, there's not a lot of talent.
Yeah, their defense is horrific.
Yeah, it's not great. Panthers offense: Ike Ekwonu, Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, and Baker Mayfield. Defense: Brian Burns, Jeremy Chin, J.C. Horn, and Shaq Thompson. Man, I mean, the Panthers should be good. The Panthers should actually be good this year, but they probably won't be.
Well, but this is the initial plan, though, is to get young studs on defense and have it kind of help carry you while you figure out the quarterback position. We'll see.
Which they may have.
They may have. Well, I don't know about for the future, but maybe for this year.
For sure. Saints offense: Chris Olave, Jameis Winston, Alvin Kamara, and Ryan Ramczyk. Defense: Cam Jordan, Marshawn Lattimore, Demario Davis, Tyrann Mathieu. Makes sense to me. I guess Jarvis Landry's a little old. Probably wouldn't keep him over any of those guys. NFC West, 49ers offense: George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Trey Lance, Trent Williams. Deebo Samuel's a little shocking simply because of the contract situation, how he wants out, but they're not trading him. We've kind of talked about that.
Even if they were trading him, they would keep him in a situation to trade him. So he would be. They would sprint to the board to pick Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be one of the first picks. Defense: Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Eric Armstead, and Charvarius Ward. Cardinals: Kyler Murray, DJ Humphries, Hollywood Brown, and DeAndre Hopkins. Defense: Budda Baker, Isaiah Simmons, Zayvon Collins, and Byron Murphy. The Cardinals defense is legit. I like it. Yeah. Rams: Stafford, Cup, Allen Robinson, and Rob Havenstein. I'm shocked about the Allen Robinson one, I guess. I thought maybe they would go a different route, but he's probably still there.
Cam Akers, but
there's not.
Sonny Michel played well at that position.
It's true.
I think Allen Robinson is better than Cam in this situation.
Yeah, for sure. Defense: Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Bobby Wagner, and Leonard Floyd. Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
Jesus.
Uh, Seattle: DK Metcalf, Charles Cross, Kenneth Walker, and Damian Lewis. Shout out Damian Lewis, the awesome guard from LSU that we loved, and who has been a very good pro so far. Defense: Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, Jordan Brooks, and Puna Ford. All makes sense to me. The defense in Seattle is actually pretty good as well. So, all right, that'll do it. That is all of the players that got protected. And now we are going to draft our expansion team. But, Randy, so they went with the London Dynasty with a maroon color. And we don't like that. So we're going to do something else. So, Randy, why don't you talk through what we're doing there?
Yeah, I think another U.S. team, a Canadian team, or a Mexico City team are the most realistic ones, and I think are more of the future. London is nice and all, but you would almost have to have a full European expansion. And they talked about how you'd have to stack games and have them almost be an independent team. Fuck all that. Let's get a team that can have travel less than most people travel already. First of all, that they're gonna continue to expand this. They're gonna realign divisions to where they actually make sense, hopefully, because half of them don't right now. And Toronto is one of the best sports cities in the world, and to give them a football team when like Canadians don't like overly embrace Canadian football, but it's because they know the NFL is better and they could support NFL teams. And
Yep.
there's plenty close along the border. But if you gave them a real one, just like when you gave them the Raptors, they fully embrace it. So I think giving them Toronto, we came up with either the Huskies or the Wolves. I think those are the most common names for it, but it's also one of the better. I know I've seen Toronto Huskies be tried to like be used to take away the Raptors name and a couple other teams because it is an older. I think it's a former team for a Canadian Football League as well. So it just makes sense, and there's a lot of, in theory, good colorways you could do with that. We joked that like probably like icy blue and like cooler gray with like a popping like white and popping blue to accent it. Um, I mean, it would, the uniforms alone would look incredible. I would definitely buy one in that situation because those color schemes together are always so clean. So I think it's way better. And also, I think giving St. Louis a team again, or um, getting a new state like Oklahoma, like Oklahoma City, I think that would be fun. And Mexico City, I think is a tremendous idea as well. But we went with Toronto here.
Yeah, I think Toronto would have been my pick from the start. And as soon as they introduced this, I said, "Oh, team in Toronto makes too much sense." I just think that
London's a good
it's
idea. It's just it's
they
far
have to have
fetched at this point.
they have to have a division over there essentially, and even then, like it's a
It'd be
tough
tough.
sell. Yeah, it's a tough sell. All right, let's get to drafting our Toronto Huskies. We're going with the Huskies. Um, so our Toronto Huskies with blue colors and silver and stuff. Um, Randy, I'll let you. How do we want it? So we're going to go offense first, and then we're going to go through the defense.
Yeah, we're just gonna kind of go down the line. So you're not, with it being one expansion team, we're not competing with another team. Like me and Christian are on the same team here, so we're just gonna go break down position by position. Um, it will be a quarterback, running back. Do we want to do two wide receivers, two tight ends, three wide receivers, one tight end? Which way you want to do it?
So I was going to suggest two running backs,
I
like a psychopath, just because of the talent that's here. But I think it makes more sense to
It's
go
more, but I'm thinking of
three
more
wide
like
receivers.
on a field. Like you're more likely to have three receivers and two tight ends. That's why.
Yeah. Well, tell the Cowboys that when they put Tony Pollard out in the slot this year.
At wide
But no, I
receiver,
get
though.
it. Yeah,
So which one do you want to do?
three wide receivers, I think, just
Okay.
with the talent here.
All right. Well, starting off at quarterback, the best available, because again, most quarterbacks got kept. Mitchell Trubisky, Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ritter, Sam Darnold, Matt Corral, Jared Goff, Jimmy G, Drew Lock, Geno Smith, Malik Willis, Sam Howell. Name a quarterback from this class. Uh, I think Jared Goff, Desmond Ritter, Trubisky, and Jimmy G are the only four really in contention here. And for me, it's Jimmy G is the best day one. And the premise here is also you get the first pick overall in the 23 draft. So I think it'd be better served to get Jimmy G and have him help your team grow for a year, possibly two, to have the rookie quarterback develop behind, because you probably are drafting CJ Stroud or Bryce Young in this situation, or whatever quarterback it is. But Jimmy G is the best quarterback for that situation for me. So that's what I'm going with. If you have a counter argument, please. We're working together here. But
I mean, I would argue then. So we're also trying to stay cap friendly. Jimmy's
yes,
contract is like the only piece of it where I'm like, but like Mariota or Trubisky would serve the same purpose.
they're
Um,
not much cheaper though. It's like $6 million. Like it's not.
correct. Correct. So I'm good with Jimmy G. I think he makes the most sense, especially with what we're gonna build here. I mean, it's Jimmy G and it's CJ Stroud, so or Bryce Young, I guess, but it's CJ Stroud.
And Jimmy G gives you a realistic chance to play well enough that you don't draft a quarterback as well, because you
Sure.
think you're another year away, 2 years away. So I think he gives you best of both worlds. Moving on to running back, I'll let you give your top like five here. I kind of listed mine in the doc. But
If I'm being honest, man, the only piece of an argument that I want to give is just for Nick Chubb. I think he's the best running back in football on a pound for pound basis. I think if you're gonna be a team that starts Jimmy G or ends up with a rookie, you want to have a really solid run game. My argument is if we're taking one person per team, would you rather Nick Chubb or Wyatt Teller? Because I think my argument
which
would
we
then
are.
be
We're only doing one per team. So
right.
I think I'd rather have the ability to take Wyatt Teller, because I think he's at least a top three guard, and Chubb's definitely a top three back, but the top three here is better than the
Yeah,
top three over there. So, and he, I believe, makes the most money of the group.
he does.
So,
So my next argument then would be for Brees Hall because he's on that rookie deal, and we're not going to take another Jets player.
yeah,
That's just kind of how I would look at that.
that's what I was going to go with as well. I think Mixon, for the same reason, is a pretty good shout. I don't think we're taking another Bengal on the offense either. But again, makes more money. I think getting cheap at running back here is smart. So Brees Hall would be my pick as well. I think Swift is also a really good pick.
Yeah, I think so too. I just think I think there's a chance that we do snag another Lion somewhere down the road.
There's a chance.
But
We're not
yeah,
getting
so
another shot.
all right. So right now we've got Jimmy G, we've got Brees Hall, right?
Yep.
All right.
Wide receivers a little bit more of a cluster. So Rashad Bateman, Gabriel Davis, for veterans, Robert Woods and Adam Thielen and Michael Thomas, Tyler Lockett, all great, all make a ton of money though. Jerry Jeudy, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brandon Ayuk. So I think Jerry Jeudy, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brandon Ayuk, Gabe Davis, Rashad Bateman are my top five, with like George Pickens and Renfro following up very closely after.
You think Jerry Judy's better than Renfro?
Yes. Like, if I'm building a team, I would rather have Amon-Ra and Jeudy than
They're also on. So
than Renfro and Davis. Like, I'm also building a room.
right. So my argument would be Judy's gonna need paid. Hunter Renfro has already gotten paid, but we can anchor maybe the wide receiver room in terms of money with Renfro in the slot. It really limits what you can do. Maybe we do change this and go 12 personnel and draft 2 tight ends. Because
I'd rather just stick with the three now that we've done it. And I think the first pick for me is Amon-Ra. I think he's my slot at cheap.
Okay.
I just call it there.
That's fine. We can do that. We both loved Amon-Ra. We were super high on him. He went to day 3, and then he was a stud.
Should know.
So, yeah.
Now,
Rashad
if we're,
Bateman's my pick
I was
here.
gonna say, I think Bateman really is the first pick here because he's a little bit inside outside, whereas Amon-Ra is more strictly inside unless it's red zone. So I think Bateman as well. And for me, it would be I think Judy, but Gabe Davis or like Pickens here for the outside big boy guy. And while Pickens is
Are,
the cheapest, I think I'd rather have Gabe Davis.
yeah, I mean, Davis is a better player
Yeah.
right now.
I like
So,
Ayuk, but we're not a big team right now.
are we can't take Ayuk. We already took Jimmy G.
Good call, yeah.
Are we taking one from the offense and one from the defense?
We're doing one from a team, which I'm
Right.
now just going. So yeah.
So like the Bateman pick to me, I would rather have Patrick Queen later.
Would you?
I think
I
because
think we can get enough at 2 linebackers besides him that I'm fine with taking. I'd rather have Bateman. With
okay.
Devondre Campbell, Devin Bush, not Devin Bush, Devin White, Levante David, Jacoby Dean, Quay Walker. Like there's a laundry list of potential there that I would rather take.
All right, so we'll go Bateman. Buffalo though.
Who else would take for Buffalo?
One of the safeties.
Yeah, or Ed Oliver maybe.
Probably Ed Oliver.
Are we taking a Bronco though?
Well, probably not with where things stand. My argument would be Ronald Darby, but he's starting to get old, and I'd rather have one of the a young group of corners.
Yeah, I think Pickens kind of has that same reasoning where we're not going to use him.
We're not going to draft a Jag, right? Could we go
No,
Christian
but
Kirk as our Z? So Amon-Ra on the slot, Kirk as a Z.
Bateman's X.
Yeah.
I would rather have Judy over Kirk, personally. Because there's upside there to where Kirk, I just don't see him growing that much. And I don't think we take anyone else from Denver.
Probably not. Okay. That sounds good. We'll do that. So right now we've got Jimmy G, Breece Hall. Then we've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jerry Jeudy, and Rashad Bateman as our 3 wide receivers.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it sure is. Tight ends. So best available right now: Mike Gesicki, David Njoku, Pat Freiermuth, Noah Fant, Dalton Schultz, Dallas Goedert. A lot of talent here. Trey McBride.
To me, I think it's Freiermuth. Whereas Schultz and Gesicki have done more. They haven't been paid and they're going to cost more. And they're probably going to want to leave. Freiermuth is tied to that. This is his second year. He kind of broke out slightly last year. He's a good do-it-all tight end. I think it's kind of a no-brainer to me for the cheap option.
I agree. He could also be. Freiermuth is probably close to the most talented player on this.
That's the other thing.
So
he is.
He's very good.
In 3 years, I think he's probably the best tight end of that group.
Okay. Let's move over to offensive tackle. Spencer Brown. We could still take him. We didn't take Gabe Davis. Isaiah Wynn, Mekhi Becton, Braden Smith, Orlando Brown, Lane Johnson, Christian Darrisaw, Trevor Penning, Taylor Moton, Donovan Smith, Sam Cosmi, I mentioned earlier, Jack Conklin.
I think Isaiah Wynn's a pick because I don't think we're taking another Patriot.
No, we are not. So Isaiah Wynn at tackle. At left.
Are we taking another Chief?
So no.
It's basically, are we taking Trey Smith?
Shout out Trey Smith.
Or I think Orlando Brown Jr. is probably the best tackle on this whole list, besides maybe Lane Johnson, but he's a lot older.
Yeah.
I think Cosme is a tremendous shout as well. It's just like I'm trying to get the best line possible, I guess. And if we're not going to use Kansas City again.
Yeah, let's do Orlando Brown. So starting tackles of Wynn and Brown. This is ridiculous.
Right.
Wyatt Teller at guard. At right guard.
We passed on Chubb. So what does he play, left or right? He plays right.
Right. Right. Yeah. I feel like we're going to take a Charger, so I don't want to take Zion Johnson.
Yeah, we can't take Zion. Let me give it a old looky-loo. Robert Hunt. We might not take a Dolphin. Kappa. Who's Kappa play for again?
He just signed somewhere, didn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Jacksonville. Look that up, and then I believe Tyler Smith is a Titan, right?
Kappa is a Bengal.
Bengal, which we have not used. And
Tyler Smith is a Cowboy.
Cowboy.
Yeah.
Which we have not used. We most likely, we might use it next. No, we won't.
Probably won't.
We could do.
Let's do
Tyler Smith, but
But Cap is better, man.
Cap is better, and you said he's what again? Sorry.
The Bengals.
Yeah, let's do Kappa. Honestly, I'd rather have Hunt than Tyler Smith. So let's do Kappa.
Okay. All right. Are you writing all these down?
Yep. And then center, I mean David Andrews, we can't take.
It's got to be Ryan Kelly, right? No.
Eric McCoy is a good one. However, the Saints they technically have like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Marcus May. There's other people we could take. Ryan Kelly, he's Who's Ryan Kelly?
Colts. Right?
Yeah. Probably not using them again.
Yeah, that's my thing.
Maybe.
Probably not though, because I was kind of just looking down that list. I'm thinking. Yeah, I'm thinking Ryan Kelly, man. I really am.
I think Jensen's the Bucks, and we'll probably use the Bucks.
We will.
I think it'd have to be Biotish or Kelly, because I don't think we're going to use Cowboys again.
What do you mean probably use the Bucks? Devin White's on this list, bro. Bucks are out.
It's not just Devin White either. There's
little Vontae David too, and
there's a lot left.
Yeah, so
whichever
Kelly,
one.
You good with that?
Kelly or Biotish, I'm cool with either.
Let's go Kelly, because I just don't see another Colt that we'll be using.
Probably not. They picked all the good ones, so
it's true.
So are we doing traditional 4-3, or are we not doing that yet?
Can we? You
want to do safeties and corners first?
Yeah, from there? I do.
All right. Well,
Stephon Gilmore's a Colt, but he's old. We don't want him.
That's fine. We don't need to use him, dude.
All right. So corners available, just ridiculous. The Charger I want here is Asante Samuel.
Yeah, I think that's a lock. I think we take Asante Samuel Jr. It's past then, but I don't know.
Andrew Booth would be my next pick. He's a Viking.
Okay, Kyler Gordon is a Bear. That's a good one.
Yeah, we're not going to use another Bear probably.
No. Roger McCreary's a Chief. We already used them.
Yeah.
Caleb Farley and Fulton are Titans, which I don't think we'll use. So that's a good one. Levi Wallace is a Steeler, which we already used. So yeah, we could do Byron Jones.
He's getting old though.
He's slowing down. I would rather have one of the rookies as a new team.
Okay. Which one? I mean, you were a Booth over Gordon pre-draft, right?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
We'll do it.
Here's my CB1. We have to take him. All right. Safeties. Or do you want to get a third corner and just freaking pack up a nickel defense here?
So that's why like the 3-4 matters, because then we're not taking 2 edges and 2 outside linebackers, and we're taking more versatile guys. And we could take a third corner.
Let's do that. I want to take a third corner. I think it's more in line with what the NFL is anyway. So then we can take Kyler Gordon anyway. Do you want to?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a young corner room, but we're going to learn together.
Okay. Now, this is where it gets harder. Richie Grant at free safety. Now, hear me out. We're not going to use the fucking Falcon. Maybe for Grady Jarrett.
Yeah, that's what I was going to push back on that. I would rather have Grady Jarrett, I think.
I think we have to take one of the Bills' safeties.
Micah Hyde.
Yeah, so is there – I think we probably could find a better a strong safety we like more than a free safety. So I say Micah Hyde at free.
And then our Cleveland pick should be Grant Delpit because he looked like a stud last year.
We've already used pick is Wyatt Teller.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Damn it.
So
Jonathan Abram?
I was going to say, I mean, we got the Raiders still, but I'd rather use that at edge.
Have we used the Packers yet?
No, but I'd rather use them at middle linebacker.
For who? Devondre Campbell.
Campbell, for consistency and youth, I'd rather have him paired with someone.
Him and Devin White?
Probably, yeah.
Can we just do that? Can we lock those in? Because I think that's where I'm leaning.
That's fine.
Okay, so Tampa Bay and Green Bay. I'm not really loving the strong safeties here.
Well, we could do, I'd say Marcus May, Abram, Jordan Fuller, I think is a good shout. Are we going to use any other Rams here? Like, I think they took all the really good ones. I think taking Jordan Fuller is our best pick.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I agree. So that's a stacked safety room. We got our 2 middle linebackers. Do you want to get we need a nose?
Yeah, we need a big ass nose. So
Al Woods, baby. Seattle. We're not going to use any other Seahawks, right?
But
we don't have to use every team.
I know. Didn't know it's 49ers, which we're not using. No, we are. Jimmy G. Fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Daron Payne, Commanders. We haven't used them yet.
We definitely could use them. We already used Chargers. Gallimore's Panthers, right?
Neville Gallimore?
No, we haven't used
Cowboys.
We haven't used the Panthers, I think was what I was trying to get at.
Gallimore and Osa are both Cowboys.
Okay, that's right. Well, we could do that. BJ Hill, Matabuke, we can't use.
Man, where's Dalvin Tomlinson play? Minnesota.
Minnesota. We didn't. Yeah. Did we use them?
We did. We used Minnesota for Andrew Booth.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Derek Brown is the Panthers.
That's the pick. That's the pick.
That's the upside pick for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Might not be it's not the best guy on this list, but for what we're allowed to use left, I think Derek Brown is the nose tackle type we want. And he's got enough juice rushing from the interior.
Yeah.
All the true noses were kept.
That's true. All right. So what are we building here with our edges / outside linebackers?
So I think you have one big edge, and then just two like edge rushers. So basically a 3 to 4 tech D tackle that's an edge, and then you have outside linebackers. Basically, we basically get the two best rushers we can get, and then a bigger guy.
Yeah,
So,
man. I'm either so Bud Dupree is too not. I mean, that's your outside guy. Emmanuel Agba, though, has been a hand in the dirt guy with the Dolphins and has really excelled. He earned himself a
he
nice little
has.
contract. I think
There,
Agba is a good shout here.
yeah. So I say is there edge rushers that we really, really want? Like that's I think Agba is fine of a pick. I'm just saying I think that's what I prioritize here. We could do JJ Watt because we're not using the Cardinals.
But he could be your captain, kind of lead you.
Yeah.
And,
For 3 games that he plays.
sure. Yeah. Let's do JJ Watt.
And he functions as a 3 tech more than an edge. Anyways.
Right. And he's got some flexibility there.
Yeah. Which is perfect for this. So now we need 2 pure edge rushers. So we could do Agba, which is perfectly fine with me. And then Bud Dupree. We use the Colts. We can't use Yannick. Can't do Calais. We did the Lions. So no Charles Harris. Did the Panthers. No Gross Matos. Marcus Davenport. Leonard Williams.
He's more of a down guy, though. Like we kind of want.
We used the Bengals, right?
We did, yeah.
Okay, so Hubbard's out, Rousseau's out, Clown is out, Frank Clark's out. Derek Barnett is in, but he doesn't count for me.
Marcus Davenport, I think, is the pick, or Preston Smith, but no, Preston Smith.
He's Vikings, I think.
Yeah.
No, he's Packers, which we've used.
Well, no, didn't he leave the Packers this offseason?
I thought Zadarius went to the Vikings. I thought Preston stayed.
You're right. We've already used them. All right, I think Davenport would be the pick here.
Yeah, we have just so Davenport and Agba. Or do you want more pure speed pressure for outside linebacker?
Well, that kind of fits the Preston Smith. So, where did we take? Who did we take from Green Bay?
We took Campbell, which we could replace. We could replace Campbell with Quay. No, we can't do it with Quay.
No.
Shit.
I know. Well, we could do.
We could take Jamin Davis.
Yeah, we didn't end up taking Payne, right?
We could take Baker as of right now. If we're replacing Agba with Preston Smith, we could take Jerome Baker, who's probably a better sit linebacker.
We took a Jet already, didn't we?
Huh?
No. We took a Jet. Brees Hall.
Yeah.
I was going to say CJ Mosley is an upside pick.
Cool. David Long as well. We can do
Zach Cunningham.
That's Titans as well. David Long, Zach Cunningham.
This is hard, man.
Kobe Dean we could do, but he's smaller, so we'd have 2 smaller middle linebackers. They'd be hella athletic.
So, man, I guess Jerome Baker over Agba makes sense. And then replace but Jerome Baker in for Devondre Campbell, that's a shitty trade, man. I don't like that.
It is.
I don't like that at all. What if we just what if we go Jamin Davis?
I mean, we can, but we're full 3 linemen then. And 3. It'd be like a 3-3
I know. And you don't really have flexibility.
Well, I mean, yeah.
You gotta pick the best guy, damn it. Okay, man. What do you think we should do here? I'm back ourselves into a corner here with these last
Yeah, we
two.
did. I mean, I think literally all the stand-up guys we kind of took off the board. It's basically like I think we can get more from an Emmanuel Agba than we can from a Bud Dupree at this point. So that's why I'm kind of like, let's just go Dupree and keep our linebacker core the way we want it. Otherwise, it'd be like, I mean, doing Campbell and, like Baker and then doing Joe Tryon Sharinka for the Bucks
But
instead. But I think we're still I'd rather just do Agba and keep Devin White, who,
yeah, I'm
has
down
all
with
the upside
that.
in the world.
I'm down with that. Let's do that. Let's just do Agba. So we came back to our first choice.
Yeah. So that gives us more of a 4-4-2 look,
Right.
but we're heavy secondary, which is what we need anyways. But we have
Yeah.
two really good tacklers and pass coverage in the middle to kind of save us.
Man, this team is a quarterback away. That's what I'm seeing.
This team could win games.
Yeah. So the full team on offense: Jimmy Garoppolo, Brees Hall, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Rashad Bateman, Jerry Jeudy, Pat Fryermuth. The offensive line: Orlando Brown Jr., Alex Kappa, Ryan Kelly, Wyatt Teller, and Isaiah Wynn. That's a stupid good offensive line.
This is a 500 team at worst, I think.
Immediately.
And it's young.
Yeah. Yeah. On defense, J.J. Watt, Derek Brown, Marcus Davenport, Emmanuel Agba. Linebackers, Devondre Campbell and Devin White. Just silly. Corners, Asante Samuel Jr., Andrew Booth Jr., and Kyler Gordon. And then the safeties, Micah Hyde and Jordan Fuller. I mean, stupid. It's stupid. This is why I think teams would get to protect more players, like they kind of alluded to. But man, that's a fantastic team.
Yeah, I know they've done it in the past. I didn't really go through and double check the rule books on it. I think that's definitely something that you should do. But
Right.
this is more of a fun exercise. If this is the situation, this is what would happen. Again, to have, I mean, your oldest players are J.J. Watt, obviously, but then it's like Emmanuel Agba, Micah Hyde is the second oldest, I'd say. Jimmy G, and then Ryan Kelly.
Yeah.
It's a relatively young offensive line, especially for offensive linemen. The rest of the offense, besides Jimmy G, is ridiculously young. And then you have two older guys on defense with really young to, second contract guys. So that's, I mean, ridiculous. And to let Micah be your full free safety, center fielder, and Fuller literally play the Poyer role and learn from Micah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
and to have those corners that are so youthful and honestly pretty interchangeable, it would be really, really useful to have a guy like Micah in the back end.
Yeah. I love that. That was fun. I think we'll have to make this a thing every year. I think that would be a fun little activity to do. Maybe we draft competing expansion teams and actually do a draft.
I would like to do that, but that would be a whole episode. So
it will. But hey, there's a lot of off season. We probably could have used that a couple weeks ago.
100%.
So, all right. We have Marvel Talk. We don't have time for Marvel Talk, so we'll push Marvel Talk to a later date. Probably next week. We'll probably touch on.
We'll definitely have enough time to carve out 10 minutes. So
yeah, for sure. Other than that, like I've mentioned a couple times here, training camp battles is what we're kind of going to look at next week, as well as the NFC South. We will have Deshaun Watson news, I anticipate, by next week.
We should just, in general, start having news again starting next week.
Yes, exactly. So, Randy, anything to add before we get out of here?
Thor was good. That's all the Marvel talk we'll get into. We'll get it more deep next time. That's about it.
Yeah.
All we can do at this point.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I agree with that sentiment, but we'll get into the deeper talk next week for sure. Again, next Monday around 10 o'clock, that's when we've been going live. Check us out there. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe. If you're listening on the podcast, be sure to leave us a review if you think we are a good podcast. If not, maybe don't leave the review or just lie and give us a 4 or 5 star review.
If not, shut up.
So, all right. For Randy Hall, I'm Christian Williams. We will talk to you guys next week. Later.